Good afternoon, grade 2. So for our today's lesson, we will read the poem If I Were and see how the character is similar to or different from us. But before we begin with this discussion, let me ask you one question. What are the usual things that your parents tell you not to do? Okay? Maybe some of our parents will tell you that you don't need to watch TV, especially if you have assignments to do or if you still need to review for your upcoming exams. Some of your parents will also tell you not to play too much video games like the Minecrafts, the Roblox, right? So those are the usual things that your parents might tell you not to do. Now, are you following their commands or requests? Yes, you must, right? Remember that all those things, all those reminders that your parents tell you not to do are also for your own good. So you better follow them, okay, children? Now, so before we have this, I want you to prepare your Exceed English content book and open your book on page 106 so that you can follow what I am reading. Are you ready? If you're ready, let us start reading our poem for today, If I Were. I want you to observe carefully with the pictures that I will show you because later on, you have to answer what are the things that the girl in our poem imagines herself to be. And you will only know that if you will listen very carefully. Since you have your books with you, I want you to follow what I am reading. If I were. If I were a lizard, I would lie around all day and stick out my tongue in a very naughty way. And my mother could not tell me it is a wicked thing to do, since she would be a lizard and she would do it too. If I were a cricket, I would hop all day and suck my teeth quite often in a chirping sort of way. And my mother could not tell me it is a wicked thing to do, since she would be a cricket and she would do it too. If I were a bat, I would sleep all day and stay awake the next day in a most upsetting way. And my mother could not tell me it is a wicked thing to do, since she would be a bat and she would do it too. If I were an earthworm, I would play in dirt all day and drag my feet behind me in a lazy sort of way. And my mother could not tell me it is a wicked thing to do, since she would be an earthworm and she would do it too. Now we're done reading our poem. This time, let us review the different things that the girl in the poem imagines herself to be. What are those again? Okay, those are animals. Very good. So what are the animals that the girl in our poem imagines herself to be? So let's name them one by one. We have lizard. We also have cricket. We also have a bat. And the last one we have earthworm. So here are the list of animals that the girl in our poem imagines herself to be. Now, what would she do after that? After imagining herself to be a lizard, a cricket, a bat, and an earthworm. Okay? Do you still remember what the girl would do after being a lizard, cricket, bat, and earthworm? Okay, let's start off with lizard. If the girl were a lizard there, what would she do after that? She would lie all day. Okay. How about when the girl imagines herself to be a cricket? What would she do after that? She would hop all day. Exactly. Now, how about if the girl imagines herself to be a bath? What would she do after that? She would sleep all day. And lastly, if the girl imagines herself to be an earthworm, what would she do after that? She would play in the dirt. Okay. Now, let's have our recap for this one. So, on this column, these are the animals that the girl in our poem imagines herself to be. So, she imagines herself to be a lizard, cricket, bath, and earthworm. After that, what she would do was written here on the other column. So when the girl imagines herself to be a lizard, she would just simply lie all day. When she imagines herself to be a cricket, she would hop all day. When she imagines herself to be a bath, she would sleep all day. And when she imagines herself to be an earthworm, she would play in the dirt. As you can see, these actions are from the girl in the poem. Now, what would you do if you were in the same situation of the girl in our poem? Will you do the same thing like what the girl would do after imagining herself to be a lizard, cricket, bath, or earthworm? Okay, maybe some of you will do the same thing, but maybe some of you might do different thing. Like what in our aim, it says there, we can see how the character is similar. When you say similar, it means the same or different from us. When you say different, it's the opposite of the word similar, meaning you have different thing to do or you will act differently. Now, some of you might do this, like what I mentioned a while ago, but some of you will do different things. So it's up to you. What makes us differ from that? Because we have our different imaginations. Okay? Remember that these particular actions or results are just based on the girl imagining herself to be these animals. So it is purely based on the girl's imagination in our poem. But since we are all different in terms of imagining things, we might do different actions from the given in the poem, right? Because we have our own imaginations. And how important these imaginations are while we are reading in our poem. Okay, so these imaginations will help us do the most important thing. And what is that important thing? Through imagination, we can relate ourselves to the characters. Okay? When we say relate, we connect or we put ourselves to the characters from what we are reading. Maybe it's a poem, a stories, or just simply an essay. Or maybe in the movies that we watch, right? So that is the most important thing here in our lesson. Relating ourselves to the characters. And how can we relate ourselves in this particular poem? Okay, we also have to imagine. Take note, we can relate ourselves to the poem that we are reading if we imagine that we are the character in the poem that we are reading. Like in this case, if we want to relate ourselves to this poem, we have to imagine that we are the girl in the poem. Is that clear? So you are not who you are today, but rather you are the girl from what we are reading. That's how you imagine, and that's how you can relate yourself to the poem. It means you are putting yourself to the character's place. Why do we need to do that? Why do we need to imagine so that we can relate ourselves to the characters in the poem? If we do relating ourselves through imagination, we will understand what the whole poem is all about. Because through these things, imaginations, and relating to the character, we can understand what we are reading better. Because we already know how will the girl react, how would the girl feel after imagining herself to be like this. Because we are already putting or relating ourselves to her place in the poem. That's why we can understand what this poem, If I Were, is all about. Because we imagine and relate ourselves to the character's place. Okay? So that's the most important thing why we need to do these things. Imagining and relating. Because if we do this, we will understand what we are reading. And that's the most important thing that you have to remember, so that the next time that you will read many stories, you will understand because you imagine and you relate your own lives to the characters in the story. Is that clear, grade 2? Now, let me check your imagination. Like for example, you imagine yourself to be a cricket. And you act as if you were a cricket inside your house. What do you think will be your mother's reaction if she sees you look like a cricket inside the house? Okay, maybe your mother will tell you to sit down, to sit quietly, or to behave and remain on your place. Very good. As you can see, some of you have different answers because, like what I mentioned a while ago, we all have our different imaginations. And there are no correct or wrong imaginations that you can put on this one, because whatever you imagine is, that's your way of relating yourselves to the characters in the story or even in the poem that we are reading. So if you do that, you will understand what you are reading all about. Is that clear? So this is our lesson for today. I hope you learn a lot for today's lesson.